Welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. I'm here with my lovely, lovely co-host, Christy Santiago.
That's me. Happy Friday, guys. Thanks for coming.
Happy Friday, Christy. And how you doing this week? How you doing this week?
Crazy week. It feels like everything, life as we know it is no longer that. It's no longer that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely nuts. For those of you who don't know, I work at a grocery store. So I've seen a little bit of panic and a little bit of just people trying to get prepared for what is pretty much inevitably going to come. But that is not our first topic. So that's like, I don't even think that's on our list of topics.
I'm sure it will be throughout. It's hard to talk about anything without it. So.
It's true. Yeah, we should probably just have an extra, just like news topic
segment
that we didn't even think of. Yeah, let's just talk about the week at the end of it. So if you have time not to come up with a thing, if not, we'll just go with it.
The end of the world as we know it.
Yeah.
Stacy said, and I feel fine.
I feel fine.
It's a gooseball.
Okay. So, first thing first. As soon as we were done with our show last week, I went to bed, I woke up, and then just listened to more stuff of that was all related to what's been going on with the elections. And that's what our main topic was last week. And thank you, Nacha. I see your message. So something I didn't really bring to the table last week when we were talking about all the election updates is the exit polls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of going to be our first topic tonight. I'm trying to get the newer ones up because I have older ones. So as of last week, before this past Tuesday's elections, there were with Bernie and Biden. Bernie was negative 11% in California. In Texas, he was down 11.8%. In Massachusetts, it was 12.4%. He was negative. South Carolina was 6.6%, and Vermont was 11%. And Biden was up by 15.3% in California. Texas was 1%. Massachusetts was 16.2%. South Carolina was 8.3%, and Vermont was 26.1%. He was up in the exit polls. Do you have a concise way to explain what exit polls are for people who don't quite understand what I'm talking about? Or do you need me to sum it up
when
sloppily?
People come out, an easy way to I guess explain it without how they do all the numbers. Just basically, how did it go in there when you come out? It went like this. I'm really excited for this. What they name a few policies. What policies are you excited for? That's how we know the exit polls for Medicare for all are overwhelming. For left, right, middle, it doesn't overwhelming. That's how we know because of exit polls. And these exit polls also had more people saying Bernard Sanders than Joe Biden. There were a significant amount of people. I will link it actually here when I get done talking. In Michigan, who said that they heard overwhelming for Trump or for Bernie. They rarely heard a Biden, but Biden won. So those are discrepancies. The highest discrepancy I found was 15%. That's
Gotcha.
insane. Listen, if let's talk about Venezuela or Bolivia or anywhere that the right-wing government of the U.S. deems a socialist country, a country that won't let our multinational corporations come in and, pillage those countries. When they have an election, if they are 2% to 4% discrepancies, we say it's fraudulent, and we need to have election, investigators go in to find out. And that's what we did to Bolivia. We said, oh, it's not, none of it's real. Well, guess what? All of that came back after all of the investigations that it was completely legit. And that was at 2 and 4% in, a handful of places. It's not what it looks like here. It's scary. I have to, it's very scary reading all of that. That's where we live.
Yeah. And as I was saying last week, I think we really need to have I think we need to have a Dem accent more or less. I think we need to really push a third party more than anything. But you can't have a third party if you don't have clean elections.
Right.
Well, you can hardly have two parties.
Right. We should have a handful. We should. Right. No one person fits perfectly in any ideology. So it would make sense to have parties where people fit more. A Labor Party, it could be all kinds of things. We need to treat them fairly as well. We do have a Green Party here. We also have a Libertarian Party here. Neither get the same backing, the same legitimacy. News media, corporate media, they do not give them a platform. They just don't. They don't exist.
No. So the main point of this topic, I guess, tonight, because we don't need to dwell on it a lot tonight, though I want to. I want to just be mad about it. I think the lowest that I had seen, like the lowest discrepancy was like a 4% discrepancy on exit polls on any of the states during this whole election. And that's concerning. It's concerning to say the least. And what it does to me, at least, is gives me the two opposite feelings of, God damn, we need to fight harder, and two, why are we even trying? Right? Because pretty much what it's supposed to do. But yeah, and I'm sorry, like, if I seem extra bummed, it's because I am right now, but also I'm just exhausted. Again, as I mentioned, I work at a grocery store, and the vendor I work for has asked us to just help the store. Just help the store. And that never happens. We don't work for the store. So it's kind of a strange thing. So I'm kicking butt at the grocery store, and I'm feeling it right now.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Feeling it. But yeah, so I'm sleepy, and I'm depressed about shit because there's just so much shit going on.
Yes.
So I feel for everybody. So yeah, do you just want to hit the next topic?
No, I actually have something more on that.
Got more on this? Sweet. Yes. Do it.
The Gray Zone and Code Pink call on the Organization of American States, AOS, to provide emergency international election observers in the U.S. Democratic presidential primary after many more irregularities than alleged in Bolivia.
Watch out behind you.
In light of clear irregularities in voting results, presidential primary, and structural barriers to voter participation, the Gray Zone and Code Pink call on the Organization of American States, AOS, to provide emergency international election monitors in the primary contest. Quote, the AOS must send an emergency election monitoring team to the United States to ensure independent scrutiny of the presidential primary that has been marred by clear irregularities and the systematic and highly discriminatory obstruction of citizens' right to vote, Gray Zone editor Max Blumenthal stated. Since its founding in 1962, the OAS has dispatched hundreds of election monitoring teams to countries across the Western Hemisphere, but it has monitored a U.S. election only once in history, in 2016, after Donald Trump claimed that the vote would be rigged. In October 2019, AOS accused the Bolivian government of irregularities in vote counting during the country's presidential election. The organization issued a form statement expressing deep concern and surprise that the drastic and hard to explain change in the trend of preliminary results after closing the polls. Within days, a military coup was put into motion that resulted in the forcible removal of President Evo Morales, the winner of the presidential election, and installation of a brutal repressive government. While AOS's findings in Bolivia have been comprehensively discredited by researchers from the Center for Economic Policy Research and the Massachusetts Institute for Technology, it is incumbent on the organization to uphold the same standards it applies in countries targeted by the U.S. for regime change to the United States itself. So like glass houses and all that. Background on U.S. irregularities and systematic discrimination against voters. This is so important. The Democratic primaries have been the scene of severe discrimination against minority, poor, and elderly voters. Throughout the contest, voters have had to travel unusually long distances to reach polling places, then forced to stand in long lines for as long as 4 hours, sometimes 6, to cast their votes. The problem has been particularly pronounced in impoverished and minority-heavy areas, as well as within the student population. The League of United Latin American Citizens, LEAH, the oldest Latino civil rights organization in the U.S., denounced a, quote, calculated effort to suppress the minority vote during the March 3rd primaries on Super Tuesday, end quote. Calling the organized voter suppression campaign a danger to democracy, LEAH said it documented voter suppression incidents in minority-heavy areas throughout the primary elections in 14 separate states. During the California primary, voters across Los Angeles County reported seemingly endless lines at newly designated vote centers, forcing many voters to wait up to 3 and 4 hours just to cast their ballot. Quote, I have never seen such a long line for voting. At 7 p.m., it wrapped almost to the parking garage, one reporter observed. In Texas, the Leadership Conference Education Fund found that 750 polls had been closed across the state since 2012. Obstructing voting access for poor and minority voters, by 2018, only one voting center existed for every 7,700 citizens, down from one for every 4,000 before the mass closings of polling places 6 years earlier. Though the results of the primary in Texas were announced on March 3rd, it has since been revealed that a full 10% of the votes in 44 precincts of Dallas County were not even counted, not at all. This is tremendously damaging to our local democracy, the Dallas County Commissioner lamented. The 2020 Democratic presidential primary has also been marred by unusual disparities between exit polling and difficult to verify computer counts. For example, computerized vote counts in the South Carolina primary differed substantially from the exit poll, exceeding the margin of error yet again. It was there that Biden's vote count exhibited the largest increase, plus 8.3% from his exit poll projection. So people are coming out saying they're not voting for him, but yet the number shows that they are. So is everybody lying? The New Hampshire primary, meanwhile, computerized vote counts were substantially greater than the exit poll margin of error. Buttigieg's official unverified computer-generated vote totals represented a whopping 12% increase from exit poll. Voting irregularities were also apparent in the Iowa caucuses, where Senator Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg received the same number of delegates in one precinct, despite Sanders winning a significantly larger share of votes. Rather than awarding Sanders a delegate count commensurate to his total vote, the precinct contest was settled by a coin toss. So you guys remember that coin toss? He flipped it, like felt it. He used two hands to feel what it was, and it was, yeah, hot mess. The United States Agency of International Development, USAID, an arm of the U.S. government notorious for meddling in foreign elections, stated in its 2015 election guide, quote, detecting fraud, exit polls provide data that is generally indicative of how people voted. A discrepancy between the aggregated choices reported by voters and the official results may suggest, but not prove, that results have been tampered with, end quote. By the standards USAID applies to other nations, these troubling discrepancies must be investigated as signs of potential fraud and tampering with our democracy. The United States is one of the world's only industrialized countries that relies exclusively on computerized vote counting, which is not transparent and publicly observable. Most democracies verify election results through the use of paper ballots, which are counted by hand and publicly observed. These voting machines are owned by private companies. That doesn't scare anyone, then you're just not paying attention. It ends it with, the opaque, chronically malfunctioning, and highly discriminatory system demands outside accountability. This is from the Gray Zone, like I had mentioned, Max. Also, you can go to mintpress.com, and they have the numbers per state, per county, on the discrepancies, and that's where I saw the highest one as 15%. It just is mind-blowing that this is here. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I thought, I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Sucks.
Yeah, we shouldn't be. No, I was not even thinking of all of that. I remember it now because we talked about all of this Saturday morning after our show.
Yeah.
So I think that's when we like decided the topics is like during Saturday morning. We're like, all right, well, we know what we're doing next week. So yeah, and there were just lines of people still wanting to vote, and they closed the polling places, and a lot of those lines had lost people because they couldn't stay and vote. This isn't democracy, right? This is I don't know what you call it, but it just has some kind of democracy like paper mask over it. It's a load of bullshit because this happens every time we have elections. There's something like this that happens. I remember during the 2018 elections, someone I know locally came up and told me that, they found this building with a bunch of voting machines in it down in Florida. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh yeah? He's like, yeah. And he's like, that's just voter fraud, and that's awful. And it sucks that those people's votes just aren't going to count. I'm like, right. I mean, we should like have them revote. He's like, well, no. I'm just like, well, what do you mean no? He's like, well, I mean, that's not fair. Like, they just lost their chance, and it just sucks. I'm like, yeah, it sucks. It means we should fucking fix it, right? Well, right. No, it's just too late for that. You just, it'll just happen again. And I'm like, what? It's like, it's just started to set into to some people now that this is just what happened and it sucks, but
it's not okay.
yeah, it's not okay. It's not okay. It's something we should riot about.
Right.
Honestly, it's like you have your right to vote, and if you get that taken away, that's something you're allowed to protest over.
I agree. And it's going to take
who cares
more
if you're not allowed, but go ahead.
it's going to take more than, the Women's March once a year. It's going to take more than, people being upset, unfortunately, when this country, every right that we've been able to add to our Constitution has been earned through fighting. It has been earned through loss of life. Every mass protest that this country, the citizens, massive strikes, entire cities striking. Nobody's going into work because we demand our, this was for little things that we don't even have as all citizens, that they were just fighting to have, a 5-day work week. They were just fighting to have weekends. They were just fighting, to not have kids work anymore. We don't want children to work anymore. We've had to be in the streets and demand it. And I think there's too much complacency, because it is going to be a lot of work, and probably people will die. And what's going to happen is mass protests like that. Corporate power is the power. It's God in the U.S., and they will have no problem using their militarized police machines and toys to shut down the protests. And it's going to take people being taken out and the world seeing it, and people getting mad, and then more people coming in the streets to get anything done, unfortunately. And nobody wants that.
And it shouldn't take that. It shouldn't take that. We elect these people in Congress and below and above to just do this, like make sure this stuff happens for us. Like, we already have people to deal with this,
I think
and they don't deal with it.
I think that the system is set up to make sure that even the AOCs we can move a little bit, push a little bit here, fix a little bit here, speak truth to power. But as far as changing the system that helps the people and not the corporate, think about this. All the citizens pay taxes, and that tax money, a big portion of citizens' tax money goes to developing drugs for humanity. But then that drug gets made by taxpayer funding, by crowdfunding, the citizens of America paying for this research to be done and this drug to be manufactured. But then the drug gets made, and a corporation can claim it and then make profits from a drug that all of us put into. The system is set up like that. It's going to take a lot, unfortunately. I did have one more thing, and like I said, the coronavirus is going to be all up in everything we talk about. There's no way for it to not be. But this does touch on the exit polls. March 18th, 2020, the coronavirus primaries were illegitimate. Here's why. The United States is in the middle of an acceleration phase of the coronavirus pandemic, according to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC. This is the period where the virus infects people, and social distancing is crucial to slow the outbreak. Yet, in a reckless move that defied the concerns of medical professionals, state officials in Arizona, Florida, Illinois, listened to politicians and proceeded with previously scheduled in-person voting in their primaries. The 2,500 people, including more than 150 medical professionals, signed to a petition that was sent to state officials. It strongly urged them to extend mail-in voting and reschedule primaries. Multiple states postponed their primaries before in-person voting took place on March 17th, rather than respect the fact that states were trying to protect the health of voters and poll workers. The Democratic National Committee threatened states with loss of delegates if they did not hold their primaries before June 9th. And the DNC is suing your state, Ohio, because they decided to protect their people, saying they're going to take 50% of the delegates away because they didn't hold these dangerous primaries. So on March 16th,
I heard.
Go ahead.
Who is it that's suing them? Because I heard, but I haven't retained who.
It's in here.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
On March 16th, Ohio Republican Governor Mike DeWine and Dr. Amy Action, the state's health department director, showed leadership. Well, a Republican showing leadership. See, it's in all of us. We can all do it.
And I don't like DeWine. This is my state she's talking about. I don't like DeWine. He is making pretty good decisions right now, and I have given him all the credit in the world.
Yes, credit where credit is due.
Yeah, and I think he should do a little more yet, but right now he's still kind of guiding the nation with what he is doing. So kudos to him.
Okay, they showed leadership and declared polling places a health emergency risk. They postponed in-person voting until June. The Ohio Democratic Party sued the state the following day. The sociopathic nature of the Democratic Party establishment as a health crisis plunged the country into a recession demonstrated how reprehensible party operatives are willing to be in order to shepherd their preferred candidate closer to a presidential nomination over lives. Dysfunction that officials knew would occur resulted in voter suppression that made it impossible for numerous citizens to cast their ballot. Conditions stopped many citizens from participating in the primaries. Altogether, the results of the Arizona, Florida, and Illinois primary were the product of an illegitimate electoral process carried out during a national state of emergency. Once the news networks reported former Vice President Joe Biden was the winner of all three primaries, Biden appeared via live stream from his home in Wilmington, Delaware. Quote, "This is a moment where we all need our leaders to lead," end quote. Quote, "It's also a moment where the choices and decisions we make as individuals are going to collectively impact on what happens, make a big difference in the severity of this outbreak and the ability of our medical hospital systems to handle it," end quote, Biden added. What he declared was rather hypocritical. Biden likely secured an insurmountable delegate lead over his opponent, Senator Bernie Sanders. But he also showed zero leadership, put his base of elderly voters who have overwhelmingly supported him at risk, and his campaign disregarded CDC guidance to a degree that likely resulted in dozens of people becoming infected with the coronavirus because they believed what they claimed about how safe it was to go out and vote. If you are an older person, stay home and away from other people, the CDC advised. If you are a person with serious underlying health conditions that put you at increased risk, for example, a condition that impairs your lung or heart function or weakens your immune system, stay home and away from other people. The CDC further recommended, if you are young or otherwise healthy, you are at risk and your activities can increase the risk for others. It is critical that you do your virus and avoid social gatherings in groups of more than 10 people. Much of Arizona's voting was done by mail-in ballots, however. In Florida and Illinois, there were long lines of people, and in some cases, there were groups packed into rooms that violated the CDC's recommendations. Polling places became health hazards that state health departments could have shut down. The Dream Defenders, New Florida Majority, Organized Florida, and a lawsuit to challenge large-scale voter disenfranchisement of communities of color and other historically vulnerable populations. It painted a stark picture. Florida has reported 149 confirmed cases. Now remember, this was a few days ago. And 4 deaths to date, with every expectation that these numbers will rise. Universities have sent students home. People are remaining in quarantine. Poll workers are dropping out. And supervisors of elections have closed or moved 112 polling places in 22 counties, in many cases less than a week before the election. And most people didn't even know, so they're showing up and it's locked. The predictable result of this denial of the vote to untold numbers of Floridians who had planned to vote in person on election day, including those who are elderly or have polls without a tremendous risk. University students who are no longer present in their county of registration because their dorms have been shut down, and those who venture out but encounter long lines and confusion at the polls. And yet, the state of Florida has failed to take reasonable emergency measures necessary for voter participation in the face of this crisis. The deadline to request mail-in ballot in Florida is the 10th day before an election. The World Health Organization did not declare that the coronavirus was a pandemic until March 11th. Travel restrictions were not imposed by Donald Trump's administration until the same date, and it was not until March 13th that the national emergency was declared. Ray Winters, a 78-year-old voter in Miami-Dade County, suffers from heart problems and seizures. He faced higher risk of severe or fatal outcomes if he contracts the coronavirus. Winters initially planned to vote at his polling place, but he was unable to vote on March 17th without severely risking his health. His wife, Kathleen Winters, who is 67 years old, did not want to risk contracting the virus, bringing it home to him. She was unable to vote without risking her health. Bianca Maria Baez. I mean, there's just all these people who they just couldn't. It's voter suppression by definition. Another stunning example of voter disenfranchisement was shared with Dream Defenders. Apparently involved a small group of people who went to a county elections office in Florida. They attempted to go through the process of casting votes for people who were unable to be home to vote because of the quarantine. There's a whole process in place where the voter can provide an affidavit to designate someone else to pick up a ballot for them on the day of an election, one person in the group added. We were not allowed to participate in this process due to not having a physician's note to explain why they were not present or quarantining due to the virus travel restrictions. Florida has an election emergency law that allows the governor to issue an executive order and delay the election. He may do so independently or at the request of the Secretary of State. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis refused to take the step. In days prior to the primary, he proclaimed, quote, "We're definitely voting. They voted during the Civil War. We're going to vote," end quote. And there's so much more. I'll share this one also in our chat. It goes on and just describes all of these things that if it had nothing to do with today and you were reading this was happening in Bolivia or any country, you'd say that's not democracy. That's not how this is supposed to work. But it's happening here. So there's that on our exit polls topic.
Yeah. So let me put that into a little bit more perspective for everyone, because this was mentioned when I heard about a lot of it. So don't stop me if this sounds familiar, because I'm sure it will. These states voted. What were they? Oregon, Florida, Arizona. It was just those three?
Illinois.
And Illinois. Okay. Those 4 states voted because they want to hurry up and get this primary over with. And I think for multiple reasons. 1, so they can just get Biden up there, and 2, just so they can get Biden up there because they're cheating him up there. I really don't think this is legitimate. Like, the more I look at it, the less I have reason to take it seriously. I mean, I take it seriously. Legitimately is the word I was looking for.
We're seriously fucked, is what he's saying.
Yeah. So, to show you how much incompetence there is, ISIS is being more responsible than the DNC right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the latest edition of the the ISIS newsletter, which is called Al-Nabah, it calls for its fighters to I'll read this part. It says the healthy should not enter the land of the epidemic. and the afflicted should not exit from it.
Mhm.
From there, they have like cover your mouth when you're yawning or sneezing, wash hands before dipping them into vessels, and so on and so forth. Like they like tell people what to do and what not to do, as we do. But they have canceled strikes in Europe. Um, they've canceled acts of terror against the infidels, more or less, because this is important to not spread the coronavirus. But we need to hurry up and get this primary over with. Really, everything needs to halt right now. Everything does, because the longer we dilly-dally around this and just try to keep the economy pedaling by, the more people are going to get sick. And the more people get sick, the more likelihood that we're going to have a higher death toll. And that is just what's going to happen. We need to actually do a full quarantine.
Yeah, flatten the curve.
We need to flatten the curve. Otherwise, our hospitals could get overwhelmed very quickly. And also, just a lot of people will die. The more lives we can save, the better, right? Like
right.
that's
I mean, you got to understand the amount of like ventilators that we have. We do not have enough. So if a hospital has 3 that are not being used and 15 cases come in, and out of those 15, one of them ends up being in critical condition, and the next day, 30 come in and one of them ends up being in critical condition, and the next day 45 come in and one of them ends up being in critical condition. Now there's no more ventilators. So, and even on that last day with 1 ventilator, say there might be, a 40-year-old mother of 3 and a 60-year-old, grandfather. They have to now decide who has a better chance of survival and help that person. Like that's what we mean by we need to flatten the curve. It's not like we're all gonna die. No. It's that we're not prepared. If we would have heeded the warnings 8 weeks ago and started then, we'd be in a better spot now. All you got to do to see what it would be like if in 5 weeks and 6 weeks is go look at Italy. You're doing the right things now.
Yeah, a lot of people are seeing the writing on the wall now and just getting ready for it. But again, we are going to get more into that soon. Okay. So, next topic. Let's do this. Okay. This one. This is also connected to the coronavirus, kind of. Not even kind of, mostly, I guess. Holy shit. Okay. Bailout time. When I heard this earlier in the week, because we've had many developments, I don't even know how to get the whole week at like a bird's eye view.
Yeah.
What was it, on Friday when they dumped $1.5 trillion?
I think it was either Thursday or Friday of last week.
Yeah,
because my notes from last week. Yeah, they had just put the 1.5 trillion like overnight. They've done.
Oh no, I don't see Christy. Maybe. All right, I'm gonna hope that not all of us crashed. Am I still live, Natcha? Or am I the only one not live? That is the question. Can everyone hear me? Give us just a second, everyone. Christy, I see you.
I think
Hey.
Izzy turned off her light.
Oh, that'll happen. That'll happen.
She's like, I'm sorry, it's back on.
I think Nacho walked away for a minute too, because I heard nothing from no one. So I guess I think, yeah, we're still good. We're live. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulty. And I think the stream's a little bit behind, so no one heard me asking for help until it was too late. Let's see where we left off. I don't think we heard anything you said. You just started to talk and then I lost you.
The 1.5 trillion divided by 3 million, yeah, is 5,000. I know every American citizen, every family could really use that right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if we're just going to keep throwing it into the stock market and Wall Street, that once again leaves out all of the people and just takes care of corptocracy. Corptocracy. There we go.
Corptocracy.
Yes, I mean that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. So it's so Brantley has said in the chat, 2.2 trillion now is what it's gotten up to. They've dumped in there. It's incredibly frustrating, and I keep hearing on different sources, whether it be The Hill or the Humanist Report, Jimmy Dore, MSNBC, Fox, they keep referring to the bailout in 2008. And it is similar. It's not quite the same. And I keep hearing people say that this isn't the same because this was not done by incompetence. It wasn't people just being greedy or fucking up and then getting bailed out. No, this is just a completely different thing where there was really no incompetence and this thing took us by surprise. And I think, to make this short, I think it's bullshit. I think there was a lot of incompetence because we knew there was a recession coming. We knew this.
Yeah,
because we've had the same
for a while.
Yeah, because we've had the same greed. We've had so many stock buybacks since 2008, and with this last tax break, that big one that Trump passed 2 years ago now, it's not good for the economy. It doesn't take much to crash an economy like ours.
A bubble's gonna pop, yo.
Yeah,
Grifter's gonna grift and bubble's gonna pop.
Yep, we're in for a bust, and the bust has come, and it is very likely going to be much worse than 2008.
I agree.
It's already starting to get worse than 2008. The only thing that can really help the American people now are, wait for it, socialist ideas, right? Things to actually help the people, government handouts, if you will. And
but see, I hate that though, because the people pay into it. There wouldn't be a government without the people. A government's job to me is to protect and take care of the people. People need you right now. big time.
Yeah, well, we need a good government, right? We need one that works for the people, that is by the people. And
I wish mainstream media would talk about that. I wish they would talk about that. I wish they would bring on people who care about labor union, the flight attendant union. I can't remember what it's called. Oh God, they've been wonderful. And the stipulations that they have wrote down, saying that if the airline industry does get a bailout, there has to be certain like fail safe set in. They can't do buybacks. That they can't do buybacks with them. They can't do dividends. They can't pay their shareholders. Nobody's getting bonuses. It has to go to the workers for a paycheck. That's the point. And to secure their jobs and their health care. That's what it has to do. And then whatever's left over doesn't go for bonuses. You keep it for this, for things like this, to be prepared.
And who proposed that? Nancy Pelosi? Chuck Schumer, right?
No.
The leaders of the Democratic Party?
No.
The left, right?
What?
They proposed this.
Yeah, I wish there was a left in the Americas.
Right.
Well, in South America, they have a healthy left.
Trump is authorizing all of this. So this is something I'm going to bring up because I haven't heard it brought up yet. This wasn't proposed by Trump, right?
No.
So what has been passed so far? Let's start there. What has actually been passed? Do you know?
Yeah.
Has anything actually been passed?
Yeah, and I can bring that up next week if you want, because it's way more than it would be a whole. There's a lot.
Okay. Because I know they're talking about.
There's so many laws about it too. It's if you have over 500 employees, you can opt out. So McDonald's, Wendy's, all of these big chains can opt out. If you have under 50 employees, you can opt out. We have so many friends who work in dental offices, in offices where altogether there's 12 employees. They don't count because they can opt out. And I also agree that a lot of small businesses couldn't afford to pay everyone and not bring in any money. That's why they need help as well, because they are the backbone of our economy. Our mom and pop's businesses, our dentist is husband and wife. They have 2 little boys. They have like 6 people that work in their office. It's a mess. Not being prepared for this is something that I feel is a huge, it's just disrespect for all of the people.
That's the incompetence that I was talking about earlier.
It's
we weren't prepared for this. Right. What was it? Just like not even a year ago, John Bolton fired the pandemic department or whatever it was. Everyone who was a pandemic expert, they booted out of the administration.
Yes, they were.
So that's part of the incompetence that is crashing the economy right now. The fact that we don't have socialized healthcare, that we don't have social safety nets strong enough to help us in a time like this is why the economy is crashing. So hold the phone. I'm not done. If we had a competent society and economic system where we could handle shit like this, people wouldn't panic. They wouldn't panic. They wouldn't go buy all the toilet paper, all the milk and eggs and flour, sugar, butter. Stores are doing fine and hurting at the same time. The workers are like getting hit really, really hard. Hospitals are getting hit really hard because the workers are getting hit hard. People who sit at the top are seeing numbers, and that's what they're freaking out about. Whether sales are up or hours are up or profits are down, that's not good for the economy. But people who are not sitting at the top, who are trying to keep up with this pandemic and the panic that goes along with it, are just getting worn. They're getting worn down. They can't physically or mentally handle the stress of this. Their kids are home from school, so at least one parent has to stay home, maybe quit their job, which is putting more stress on them because, well, now what are they supposed to do? They need to work, but they also need to watch their kids, and they can't budget. They can't
Without
budget.
money. Yeah, no,
And
there's nothing coming in.
No, there's nothing coming in, and workplaces are closing down. I'm officially, I just now realized, the only person in my immediate family who is working.
Yeah,
I'm the only one.
Isabel got a call from her boss today and said, as of right now, you officially don't have a job until further notice. She's got a car payment, rent, bills.
Yes.
Like, she's 21. She's got bills. She's freaking the F out. Most people are. What you had mentioned about Trump, his administration, it was May 2018. Trump administration ordered the NSC's entire global health security unit shut down, calling for reassignment of Rear Administrator Timothy Zimmer and dissolution of his team inside the agency. The month before, the White House National Security Advisor John Bolton pressured Zimmer's DHS counterpart Tom Bossert to resign along with his team. Neither the NSC, or the DHS epidemic teams have been replaced. The global health section of the CDC was so drastically cut in 2018 that much of its staff was laid off, and a number of countries it was working in reduced from 48 countries to 10, including China. They were there, and now they're not. Trump inherited from his predecessor a large and capable core of disease prevention experts, including one who guided the country through the 2014 Ebola outbreak and deliberately pared it back. Several officials in charge of pandemic response, Homeland Security Advisor Tom Bossert, Dr. Luciana Borio, the National Security Council Director for Medical and Biodefense Preparedness, and Tim Zimmer, the NSC Senior Director for Global Health, Security, and Biodefense, have left or were fired since 2018. That puts this country in a very, very, amid an explosive outbreak of novel coronavirus in China that killed over 1,000, sickened 43,000 worldwide. U.S. Donald Trump proposed nearly 19% budget cut to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention on top of what he did already. The agency primarily tasked with preparing us and responding to such outbreaks. So we're at bare bones, if any. There's just gristle left, maybe not even bones. It's very scary to put party over country, to put country over planet, to put money over people. We really need to get our shit together and get our priorities straight. I want as many people to make it through this as possible. So I'm doing my part and staying, home. Today we had to take Monkey, our cat, who has a liver infection. We just found out she had a liver infection tonight. But I mean, Isabel went by herself because one person going out is better than all of us going out. It's just little things that you have to do like that.
Yep.
Making a list, going to the grocery store at weird times.
Yep. And
I live in the city, so we have lot of hours. I know some people don't have that if they live more rural, but we like to go at like 11 o'clock at night.
Right. You can't do that anymore here. They've all of the 24-hour stores in our area have they're closing at night. Our Walmart last week started closing at 8 o'clock. And my store has now started closing at 10 p.m. as of tonight.
I did want to correct something I said last week. I said that it's the really young and the really old were most, hurt by this novel virus. But I have actual numbers from ages 0 to 9. It's 0.01%. And that's for it being fatal. age 10 to 19 is 0.02%. Ages 20 to 29 is 0.09%. So you can see it just keeps getting more and more. Ages 30 to 39, it's 0.18%. 40 to 49, that's where I fall in, 0.4%. You can see it just doubles or triples. Ages 50 to 59, 1.3%. 1.3% is a lot. Ages 60 to 69, 4.6%. Ages 70 to 79, 9.8%. 80 and up, 18%. So it's, you might feel great. That's wonderful that you're young and healthy, but you could be carrying it. And so it's just smarter to not share it, not spread it around.
Right. Yeah, because as she ended with, pretty much 1 in 5 grandparents won't make it if they catch it.
Right.
If they catch it. So.
And we might not have a hospital bed for them, or a ventilator for them, or a respirator for them, or nurses and doctors for them.
Right. So this is where people need to understand that when you're watching the news and they're blowing it up to make it sound worse than it really is.
Yeah.
We understand.
Keep watching us. That's why
they're watching us.
Yeah.
We understand that we aren't there yet. We're not at that point.
No.
We don't want to get to that point. Right? We don't want to be there. If we continue to do nothing, I promise you we will get there. We just will. If we do something, there is a good chance that we could avert that situation. And then, sure, people can still be dicks and be like, look, nothing happened. We didn't need to do any quarantine. What was the government getting away with when? Probably a lot like they do already now. Who gives a fuck? We don't want people to die.
Right.
Think humanist, for God's sake.
Yeah. Oh, for all you skeptics out there, be skeptical, but also understand, be science literate. If the science is saying something, and then the peer review is saying something, and all of the data is saying something, but your politicians are saying something else, go with the science. Time.
Go science. All right. So I have so much just to like.
Yeah.
Hey there, Christy.
Throwing things.
Throwing around. Yeah. So all right. So let's look at this. What I've been hearing, and maybe you can help me confirm this or not, or tell me how likely this is, because it sounds like this is what's going to happen. Trump's approved $1,200 to go to every adult and $500 for every kid for families, or each person who makes under $75,000 a year.
Yeah, and you also have to have had a full-time job for a certain amount of time. So like my daughter who just lost her job today, she works 4, sometimes 5 days a week, but she works as a server. That's not a full-time job, even if she worked all the time, because it's a breakfast and lunch restaurant. That's it. First Watch, you guys probably heard of it. That's where she works, and even if she was able to get 40 hours here and 40 hours there for a week, it's not a full-time job. So she's not going to be able to I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think that there should be a means test. I don't think that millionaires should, they're good, but a means test, like the people that need it the most are the people that don't have the full-time job. They have 2 part-time jobs. Most of the people we know have 2 part-time jobs, or 1 full-time job and a part-time job. I'm scared for that. I'm scared for the people of this country. I'm scared for the people of the planet. I really hope that their governments come through to them, and that we can, as a society, just look at this and see. It's funny that corporate Democrats, Republicans, does the whole corporate oozing swamp. No socialism, it's bad, and handouts and bootstraps. And then something like this happens and they feel it. So it's like, we have to help them immediately. This is a crisis, and they're right. They got it right. Credit where credit is due. It's just sad that there are families that are going through crisis before this happened and after. It's always going to happen. That are going through a crisis, something that was not up to them. Their dad, didn't have insurance. And like Kyle Kalinski's dad, his dad didn't have insurance. And he kept going to the chiropractor. His back hurt. He couldn't afford the doctor. And when he went to the emergency room, they found a tumor and it was too late. That happens all the time. That's why we have between 40 and 68,000 people die every year in this country for lack of insurance. So when a family has a crisis like that, that is a real crisis. It should be looked at the same way we're looking at this. So I really hope that people are able to say, oh, wow, okay, yeah, they're going through a crisis. The dad that was their breadwinner is gone. He's wiped off the planet. He because of a lack of us caring and having empathy and giving healthcare to everyone as a right. It is a crisis for a family like that. And they shouldn't, it's not handouts. That family's father and mother, they pay into taxes. As a collective, we pay into them so that we have it when we need it. That's why we need strong safety nets. That's why nobody would have a problem that I know, no matter what side of the aisle they fall on, paying taxes and then seeing their family taken care of by it. That means a lot. You see it when you look at other countries, Norway or any of the Scandinavian countries, when they talk about how they feel about their government. It's different than here. Their government has a job. It's there because of them. They give the government its job and its purpose. And so its job and its purpose is to protect and take care of the citizens. I hope that there is silver lining to this disaster. And in that will be that we understand these things happen. And we need to look at a crisis, whether it's a myopic, tiny little crisis compared to the government, but huge in this family, that they need help. And so that's all we're saying right now, I think. It's just the people need help. Everyone.
Everyone does. It can't be a select few.
No.
It can't be whoever Lindsey Graham deems worthy. And we need the Democrats to fight for
to grow a vagina.
Everyone. Yeah. And actually fight for more people to get this instead of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi going into the House and being like, hey, we don't think this is the right way to do it. Okay, what do you think the right way to do to go about this is? Well, I think we need to give small businesses the chance to take out low interest loans. What?
Yep.
Okay. Like, no one needs to take out a loan right now, because think of a loan that you can pay off if you take out one today just to live. Like, how much can you pay off a month? Mm-hmm. Like, if this lasts 3 months, how long is that going to take you?
To last 18 to 24 months.
Yeah.
Right.
This is ridiculous.
Kids aren't going back to school this year.
Yeah.
I hope parents realize that. They're not going back to school this year.
No, they're not. Your kids are home. And this is another thing where I was building up to earlier. People are stressed now trying to keep up with the economy. And just the stress of everything. It's only going to get worse. And now they have their kids at home, and they're not used to having their kids home all day. That's just extra stress.
Yes. And
no one's ready for what's to come.
It's illegal to hang your kids by their toenails on the ceiling fan. I heard.
Not allowed to do that anymore.
You're not allowed to do that.
What world do we live in?
Authoritarian bullshit.
Right? Please state. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
So this is what I think. This is what's on my radar. Is I'm glad that Governor DeWine closed down schools, and more things are closing down to try to help stop the curve of the spread of the coronavirus. He shouldn't have done that until there was a stimulus package. People's bills are coming up immediately. We can't wait 3 weeks for the closest thing to a good socialist stimulus package or Americanist, however you want to say it, kind of package to come and help people.
Yeah, a patriotic package.
A what?
That's how I see it. A patriotic package. I mean,
Yeah.
What's more American, not the government American, the people, than taking care of each other?
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, people are stepping up. Yeah, there were hoarders in the beginning. You're never going to be able to get rid of the bad apples. It's just not. But
Right.
for the most part, I mean, you see so many videos of moms, going in and they need a specific size of diapers for their child. And so there's 2 packages left, and they take one and they leave the other one for another mom who might need that size, because people are going crazy. And I applaud them. That means that they could have taken both and not had to go back to the store for a little bit longer. But then that size is gone from the store for the day. And what if there is another mom that needs that? I think that those little tiny things go a long way.
Yeah, and it helps. And this is where I think people need to pay attention, and you need to stay
We're
focused.
too broke to pay attention, Mac.
The society, I know, right? I love Jimmy Dore's ending thing now. Have you heard it?
No, I haven't.
Hey, so this is at the end of his video. He goes, hey, this is the part where I tell you about my live shows, but we're all on quarantine. I don't have any live shows. And also, I tell you to become a premium member, but no one has a job, so I guess just enjoy the video.
Aww.
I fucking love it. I love it and I hate it, but I love it.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, like it tickled me, and it was like, oh. Oh. But anyways, one of the main points that I really want to make, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way. We're on the wrong way. It's without getting some kind of stimulus package or whatever you want to call it, people are screwed. And when people are screwed, it causes more panic and potentially violence.
And definitely violence.
Violence. Yeah. So
statistics show that when people are that what you're saying, scared and in poverty and have no way to help themselves, pitchforks come out.
Yes. And they can't be aimed at each other.
Nope, up.
Right. Has to be aimed up. In my view, it should be aimed up. It should be. One of my first thoughts when DeWine started shutting things down, I'm like, I appreciate him doing this, but we don't have a stimulus package yet.
Right.
If people want to riot and literally physically drag people out and beat the shit out of them out of like fucking Congress or something, I'm like, I will be there, because you are not doing your goddamn jobs. Only time to be violent is in a state of emergency, when the people who are supposed to be taking care of the people aren't doing their jobs. That is what calls for a revolution. We should not have to have a revolution. We do not want to have any kind of physical violent revolution.
No violence.
Don't push the people to that. Don't push them there, because it will be justified.
Yeah, I agree.
If it's justified, everyone should fucking rush the doors of Congress. no one high and mighty should feel safe, either at work or at home, because you have painted a target on your own goddamn back. Don't put people there. We don't need checks in 3 weeks. I'll be fine. I'll be fine for a month or so. I know people who won't be fine in 5 days.
Right.
That's not okay.
When rent's due very shortly for a lot of people, they're not going to be able to pay it.
No.
Or they're going to be able to pay it but not eat.
Right. I am such an anti-violent person. I hate conflict. Not even just violence, just conflict in general.
Confrontation and conflict,
But I'm thinking, like, for every eviction, like, Congress has earned an ass beating. Like, this stuff has to stop before it starts. It has to. It absolutely has to. And we need more people saying that. We need people on the news making it very clear, like, to the people who watch, like, there will be riots if we don't control this. And as I said, I am not calling for violence. I am saying there will be violence. I'm making a prediction that there will be violence if Congress doesn't do their job, because there just will be. There will be, and it will be called for. And it's sad. I don't want to see us there. I want to not see us there.
Yes.
I can't stress enough.
Our leaders just need to do the right thing.
They need to.
Best for the people they represent.
And if they don't, it's just going to be awful. And this is not the time. This is not the time to have a revolution, because, as Christy said earlier, like, there will need to be protests. There will need to be people dying for any change to be made. But if we're in quarantine, there won't be anyone to record what's happening. Right. We won't hear about it until well after, if we hear about anything. This is bad. This is awful. We need changes now. We need a plan set in place now, so no one has to starve. No one has to get kicked out of their home. This is a humanist issue.
Big time. I agree.
And we can't be just focused on the economy. We can fucking print money.
There is no such thing as an economy when everyone is stuck at home with, your pharmacy, grocery store, emergency room, or doctor's appointments. Those are the things that you should be, there's no problem. Those are all going to keep being available. Obviously, those are necessities. Apparently, GameStop is refusing to close because they said they are a necessity. Well, people are locked down. They just won't let, more than 10 people in at a time. I mean, I'm not a gamer, but I understand it. When I'm into something, I would want it, especially if I had to stay on lockdown. I'm just not a gamer, but I mean, okay, just to be safe, I guess.
Yeah. Like the government needs to make sure we all have food, we can all pay our bills, and we can all play PlayStation and Xbox.
The government. Oh goodness. Well, at least we have some kind of good news in the next story.
We do.
Oh, really quick about people doing nice things. Stacy brought over a little note to me at Starbucks, where that's her first job most of the time during the day. A Starbucks customer came through the drive-thru this morning, bought a coffee just for a woman that was working, but didn't get a chance to get a coffee before work. Like, so there's lots of little tiny things like that, I think, that really make a difference.
It does. I heard a few thank yous, like, just to the people stocking at my work today. Like, hey, thank you. Like, that's nice, because also hearing, like, a lot of the opposite. Like, you guys don't have this. No, we don't. People are so stupid. You're here too.
Right.
Actually, what one of my friends at work today is his arm actually got grabbed because one of the customers like got mad at him for like not letting them buy more than 2 milks. We have a limit on milk,
Right.
And specific. Honestly, there's a specific like set of people who come into our store who come in and buy 4, 5, 10, 12 gallons of milk.
How can you drink that much milk?
They take it across the border and they resell it because we have really cheap milk here at our store. So they do that, and then they've started to come in, go to the self-checkouts, take it out to the vehicle, come back in, go to the other end of the store, self-checkouts, come back in, put a different jacket and hat on. And my friend's like, no. They're like, what do you mean no? And they get shitty with him.
Oh,
and he's had to just take it out of their cart and walk away with it. Right? No. I'm sorry. No.
It's not fair. It really isn't fair.
It's not, because it's other people who need it. We ran out of milk like 3 days in a row. And some people were still just not understanding what was going on and just trying to do the normal shopping. They're just out of groceries. Other people are trying to stock up, and like we have limits on things for a reason. People need to put one pack of the diapers so another mom can grab them, right? You need to be courteous.
Yes.
It's insane. But again, also, I've heard a lot of thank yous. And hey, you guys are doing a great job. I'm like, hey, thank you. That means a lot.
Aww.
So, anyways.
It does mean a lot.
Yes.
So, a little bit of kindness can really make the difference in someone's life.
It can. It does. All right. The good news.
Miss Chelsea Manning.
Chelsea Manning was released. This happened. A lot of this news came out just before we went live last week. I remember watching Jimmy Dore was live about this when we went live. And I was actually going to mention it at the end, but I didn't get to, which is fine because we didn't have enough time to go through it all anyways.
I got some good stuff. So I can go before you or after you. It's up to you.
Go ahead. Do your thing.
Would you like this? You're welcome. Such a lady. Let me do a courtesy. Hand gestures. Okay. All right. This beautiful lady, Chelsea Manning. On Thursday afternoon, a district court judge in Virginia ordered that Chelsea Manning be released from jail, where she had been held since last May for refusing to testify before a grand jury. The ruling itself is striking in what it fails to recognize. The court finds Miss Manning's appearance before the grand jury is no longer needed, in light of which her detention no longer serves any coercive purpose. The judge noted. The fact that the coercive purpose of Manning's detention had long been shown to be absent, Manning has proven herself incoercible beyond any doubt, which was not even mentioned. Nor was the fact that on Wednesday, Manning's suicide attempt, it was the most absolute evidence that she could not be coerced. She would sooner die. While Manning's release is vastly long overdue, most welcome for sure, the framing and timing of the decision are galling. On Friday, Manning was scheduled to appear at a court hearing on a motion to end her continued imprisonment, predicated on her unshakable resistance proving coercion to be impossible, and her incarceration, therefore, illegal. She endured months of extreme suffering, driving her to near death, but never wavered on her principled refusal to speak. The day before this hearing, and the day after she made an attempt on her own life, the judge ruled that Manning is no longer needed. That was her quote. No longer needed. Asshole. But by the grand jury. The court did not recognize that she is incoercible, nor that her detainment had become punitive. Indeed, a profoundly punitive element of her treatment will remain. After her release, the judge denied a motion to vacate the exorbitant fines Manning faces. She owes the state $256,000, which she is expected to pay, even though the fines were only accrued on the condition that they might coerce her to freaking speak. Again and again, Manning and her legal team showed that her imprisonment was nothing but punitive, and thus unjustifiable under the legal statutes governing federal grand juries. Yet, for nearly a year, Manning has been caged and fined $1,000 per day. Ever since she was subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury, which is investigating WikiLeaks, Manning has also insisted that there was never any unjustifiable purpose to asking her to testify. As her support committee noted in a statement last May, Chelsea gave voluminous testimony during her court-martial. She has stood by the truth of her prior statements, and there is no legitimate purpose to having her rehash them before a hostile grand jury. For the court to admit, after nearly a year of torturous treatment, that further testimony from her is unnecessary and adds insult to very real injury. The government's treatment of Manning has been putrid and continues to be, especially as she remains under the yoke of state-enforced financial ruin. For her unwavering resistance to government oppression in the name of social justice struggle and press freedom, Manning is owed our deepest admiration and all of the support we can muster. And I say, amen. Amen.
Amen.
Angel. Oh. You know, she's in trouble for showing war crimes. What about the fucking war crimes? What about the war crimes? Like, so, like, if you call the police and someone's doing something, someone's setting a fire to our laundry room over here. 911 was your emergency. What's your emergency? There's somebody that looks like blah, 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 wearing this. I can probably pick them out. They're setting fire to the laundry room. Well, they come and arrest me because I told on them. That's the equivalent of this crazy batshit era we're living in. I guess it's...
So no one that she has pointed a spotlight at has come at a harm's way at all, or been held accountable for their actions.
Yeah.
She was, for those of you who may not know, just a brief idea of why she's important is because, have you heard of John Snowden? You've probably heard of him before you've heard of Chelsea Manning.
Yeah.
Right? Because John Snowden and Chelsea Manning did similar things. They leaked information to Julian Assange on war crimes and surveillance.
Yeah. Snowden linked his to journalists. So she leaked hers to Assange, Assange. Yeah, you know, a place for this, and then Snowden leaked his to journalists.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Because Snowden went to the Intercept, right? Glenn Greenwald.
A team. Yeah, a team. A woman came out actually to Russia to get the initial story.
Okay, my bad. But yeah, it says. I mean, you can go to Chelsea's Wikipedia page. Has a decent amount of information on there, but one of the first things that it says is that she's a former United States Army soldier who was convicted by court-martial in July 2013 of violations of the Espionage Act and other offenses after disclosing to WikiLeaks nearly 750,000 classified or unclassified but sensitive military and diplomatic documents. And that's why she was imprisoned, because she gave up sensitive U.S. information to Americans. And a
Yeah,
lot of this showed war crimes, like crimes that
that's why
our
she
taxpayer
leaked it, though.
dollars committed.
Right. There's nothing nefarious here. It wasn't like, here's some information. I could sell it on the black market. I can call an adversary country and see what they want for it. It was her job to document, to put in all of this information, and that's how she saw it. And you can't, as a humanist, I can only speak for myself, see that footage of them as American soldiers so callously just murdering people from above, like a video game. Like, did you get him? And ha 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 ha. And oh, I think he has a gun. It was journalists with cameras. And then when people came out to help, they killed them. Like, you can't watch that as a humanist. I can't. And
Yeah.
not think I need this. People need to see this. They need to see what our military, this particular, not our military in a blanket statement, but some people in our military are doing, and what obviously is okay. She did the right thing. She will go down in history as a great American hero.
As someone who did the
A
right
hero
thing.
for justice for everywhere, not just here.
She's been imprisoned, what, 3 or 4 times now?
Yes. I think this was her third.
Okay. So, probably won't be last. Our government doesn't forgive and forget. So this American hero will likely be treated like shit for another time or so. But
from the corporate and military parts of our government, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, she shined a light on the evil they were callously, if not doing, allowing to be done in our names, in my name, in Mac's name, in your name, for American freedom and for democracy and to protect the world. And I don't co-sign that. I think that it was wrong. And if she didn't risk her life, she knew, she was no dummy. She knew that by sharing this, her life was at risk. But it was worth the people knowing. I mean, you're talking about an active member of the military that against everything you stand for in that uniform is to not follow orders and command. And she broke command and orders and decided on her own that it would be immoral to not let the American people know what's being done, why we spend over $1 trillion a year in military. It can't be to do stuff like that, because I don't know an American myself that wouldn't look at that and think, no, that's wrong, and I don't want our tax dollars paying for that. And obviously the two up in the sky had been so disassociated. They're not on the ground. You have a joystick, and I feel like I like our men and women, our military being safe. I do. But I like humans being safe. And I think war should be the last thing that is done. Diplomacy first. And there's no diplomacy or war when you're shooting people out of the sky. That's a whole different level of fucking crazy.
Right. No, I think, and I want to make this point because I've talked so much about it tonight. I see war being the same option as unpeaceful protests or revolutions. Like, it should always be democracy, diplomacy, talking first. Like, we should always go by the nicest, most humane way to go through with things. Lead by example is really the way we should do. We should have an army, right? We should have the National Guard, all of those things, but
all of it.
we should be doing good things with them, like a United States, like a Department of Peace.
With great power comes great responsibility.
It's that's how it should be, and that's what we should push for.
It's how it ought to be, but the oughts are fuck us up.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their ought.
Yeah.
We've just got to argue for why our humanist view of ought is more moral, is better for more people. As a leader, I'm not, so maybe this would never happen, but I like to think that if I was elected in the smallest, school board, anything, that if I had to make decisions, I would ask myself, is this decision, if I say yes to this decision, is it going to hurt anybody in my district? If yes, I don't want to do it. There's got to be another way. If the answer was no, it won't hurt anyone, but it will help these people the most, and we still have to do more to help them, that's something that's helping people. But if there was an option to help more people, I would go with that. But if this option helps everyone, but some people will probably get hurt, then I don't want to do it. I don't understand why that's so hard.
Right. No, it shouldn't be, but sometimes it is. Not all decisions are easy. But
not to be beanie heads. How about that one?
Yeah, there we go. I'll sign that bill.
I would love to be able to tell Trump to his face he was a big old meanie head.
Big old meanie head.
Because how will you respond to that? You can't say I'm being a dick. I'm not being a dick. You're being a meanie head.
Right?
Right.
Talk to him like a child like that, he might blow up.
Oh, yeah.
You're now speaking his language, which he understands.
It's all over me.
You call me!
Ass kissing or vitriol? Yes.
Yeah. So I have a little more to go over. No more on Chelsea from me. Are you ready to move on?
Move on to the next.
Cool. All right. So last thing, we're just going to focus on that's a Cadbury thing. I had 2 of those today. They're so good. So, as I was saying before, I was delightfully interrupted. My thought was delightfully interrupted. There's a little bit of election news to. Oh, that's so good. Corona pandemic.
Oh.
Oh, wow. I love it on so many levels. Okay. All right. Okay, all right. Okay, all right. All right, okay.
All right.
First, election stuff. With the 4 states that did vote, Biden swept those states. Bernie's down like 300 delegates. Tulsi yesterday dropped out. So I was pretty bummed. And she endorsed Joe Biden. But at this point, I feel like I understand why she did it. Because
I don't.
Bernie might be days away from doing it himself.
That's not a good reason.
He shouldn't, and she shouldn't. But everyone fucking
that was a calculated political my career move. And it's the making decisions that are unpopular because they're the right thing to do, a quality that I like in Bernie. And I felt kind of like when she made that when she voted just present instead of standing for something, it made me think that was so, she can go either way. She can go on Fox. She can do whatever she wants with answers like that.
She can. She can, but
right. So, but now, yeah, she signed that for me. She signed it for me.
So for me though, I feel like she's kind of proven her point. Because she did vote present. And now look at who the Republicans are listening to right now. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer did put forth this UBI idea. Who was it? It was Tulsi.
According to Trump, it was him.
It. Of course.
He has the best ideas. Okay.
But we know the legislation came from Tulsi.
Right.
And because she picked up Andrew Yang's UBI, and then she crafted it into a relief fund, an emergency UBI. She did that, and that was a wonderful idea. She really can work across the aisles, and one of her main objectives in her campaign and just in her mind, one of her main focuses, she has her anti-war platform, and I was going to name another one, and then I forgot it. But she wants money out of politics, and she wants cleaner elections. So she wants to go back to voting on paper. She wants anything that's going to help make better elections. So ranked choice voting, she brought that up. That's when I fell in love with her. And stuff like that. Like she's really, really good on a lot of issues. And I don't like how she plays party politics. But this is a pillar for her. And she's making it look like she can make it work better than everyone else. She can work across the aisle. If this UBI thing goes through, she's the only one that I know of who has, besides Donald Trump being the smartest person in the world, she's the only one who introduced it as a way to help people through this crisis. Right now, she's the only one. She did that. She got the most left idea, even though they're poking fucking holes in it. She's the one who introduced it. And they're listening to her because she didn't play party politics like the rest of them did. She played it in a different way. And I really think kudos to her. I'm not real happy with everything she's done. I'm more happy than Christy is about it.
Yeah.
But I think it is calculated, but I think she's calculating right because she's actually staying relevant, and we need all the decent people we can get because we probably aren't going to get a third party.
I agree with that. To me, her whole thing is anti-war. How do you back Joe Biden? So that's a square and a circle. And she put the circle inside the square and then took the square and put it inside the circle and smiled and said aloha.
Right. But you know what? I mean, honestly, most people can't put the circle in the square.
That's true.
They're actually fucking doing it.
She's not smart. She's very smart.
She is. And I mean, I don't want to just make excuses for Tulsi Gabbard. I really don't, because everyone needs to be held accountable. But I am upset that she endorsed Joe Biden. I'm going to be upset when Bernie does it. He more or less already has. He's going to do it, and we can make the same argument, and we will. You don't support someone who said, even in a crisis like now, if we pass Medicare for all, I'm going to veto it.
He would veto it, yes.
You don't endorse someone like that. But he's already promised he would. And so did Tulsi. And Tulsi just is trying to read the writing on the wall. And the difference between Tulsi and everyone else is I think if Bernie fights this and it does show that there was cheating on that side, I think Tulsi would step back and unendorse Joe Biden and
there's been
endorse Bernie,
there's
because
been
she's the only
word
one
that
who's done that in the past.
there's been a lot of word that her constituents, reached out. And she does talk to her constituents and often, which I commend her for. That's wonderful. That's why you're there. But that they had overwhelmingly, are pushing her to drop out and support Joe Biden because beating Trump is the most important thing, and they watch mainstream media.
Yeah, they do.
So
they do, and that sucks.
But I feel like that's her job then, as the representative, to put forth an argument of why that's not the best. Like, right. You don't just say okay and listen to them. Of course you listen to them, you represent right. them, but it's right. also your job as the leader to put forth evidence. These are all there's never been a war that he didn't like, ever. Even when this Trump thing with Iran was about to go down, this crazy Uncle Joe of ours decided that, and maybe it's because I've had a chance to see a lot of politics go down and pay, attention, and I can see when they're trying to bamboozle us, with the left and right is just the same party. That's two arms of the same corporate party. When Biden said, see, this crazy president wants to take us to war with Iran. So far, I'm like, yeah, I agree. But then he says, wouldn't you rather have me when we go to war with Iran? I'm like, no, I don't want to go to war with Iran. No. I want the president that says, like you started, Joe. See, this administration is war hungry. They're war hawks. I don't want to go to war. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want a president. I want a leader. I want an administration that decides to go to war when we've been attacked.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wish you didn't Joe Boy Biden endorse Joe Biden.
I also am at Armin's Atheist Republic every Saturday, and he covers a lot of Hindu news. And so I see Hindu nationalism, and I see it for what it is. It's bad, and I know she supports it, and so it's really hard for me. I mean, she doesn't just a little bit support it. Her family funds it.
Gotcha.
I have a problem with that. Are you anti-war, or are you just Hindu supremacy? Because supremacy of any type to me is immoral and wrong. And I get it. Everyone thinks their religion is the best. I get that. But you can't say that yours is better than someone and follow that up with actions that show that, like, I'm better and that's wrong. That's not equality, Tulsi. And it's not. And week after week of seeing what goes down in India, it's imagine the Jews will not replace us stuff, but they're allowed to stone girls to death and hang them and behead them, and that's not okay. They have made it so that the Muslims aren't even citizens now. They were born there, have been there for years and years, every family all the way up. However, they decided that they're going to take everyone's citizenship away and then just give it back to whoever, but Muslims aren't getting it back. So now they're a people that have been here for centuries, generations, and now they don't have a citizenship. And if your family is friends with the leaders over there, not just like I understand she's a leader. She has to meet world leaders. I am not dumb. I don't think that that's wrong. I think that all of our leaders should meet all of other world leaders. There doesn't have to be preconditions. It's about diplomacy. So putting your best foot forward and creating a relationship, even with dictators, to make sure that this country is safe is all good. But also funding some of that Hindu nationalism, not calling him out, but calling out other world leaders, that's supremacy to me. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just too picky, and maybe I expect too much.
You're making valid points, so You're making valid points, and the way that she doesn't push back on Modi.
Modi. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. That's something I really don't like about Tulsi.
And maybe
So
she's been threatened. I wouldn't push back if my family had been threatened either. So who knows?
right,
No,
right,
he is. That's how he is. That's how his people. Yeah, he's not
I'm
a good
sure.
guy. He's
No,
not a
not at
good
all.
guy.
So yeah, it's a tough one. She's a tough one. I really honestly like 80% of what she
Yeah,
does.
no,
And
she's
that's more
definitely in the top
tops.
20% of representatives we have in Congress. I would say, as far as the policies she stands for.
And she's making it
But our
sound like maybe
president's
she
Donald
is
Trump.
staying in Congress. In her like farewell video, it sounded like she might be staying in a Congress, and she wasn't going to
Yeah, no, I think
run
she's
again.
going to stay. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's good because we definitely need her in there,
She's
especially
done
if she
great
is
things
going to play. Yeah, and
for
especially if
her.
she's going to play both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
We need someone decent who's going to do that, who's going to vote for better voting rights.
Right.
And I'm still in the mindset of we're going to lose Bernie soon. We need a new best, and I don't know if it's going to be her. I'd rather be like AOC, but I don't know if it's going to be AOC either. We need as many candidates as we can to be the leader of the progressive movement.
Well, the movement's
we don't
not
keep
going anywhere. You don't have to worry about
stagnant.
that. Yeah, no, the movement's not going anywhere.
Right, it's not leaving.
Only going to get bigger. It's only going to get more. It's not in its infancy. It was in its infancy in 2012 and 2013 and 2014. By 2016, it was crawling. Right now, we're like toddler years. So, every movement, if you look through history, like I love to do it, when there starts being a push for something and it's just this group of people, it gets bigger and bigger. It takes sometimes, if we're lucky, 7 years. If it's a normal movement, it takes a decade or two to get things done. It just does.
It does.
So it's not going anywhere. Bernie is not going to be able to be president if 2020 is not his time. I would not want him to. I want him to be able to be a fun grandpa and, do the things that fun grandpas do. But he will be the face of the movement.
Yeah, he will.
200 years from now. Yeah.
And I agree with all of that. And I said it was stagnant. And I want to say why I said that in case anyone is wondering. It's just because he's not pushing back as hard as he should right now.
He's worried about this.
With this voter suppression kind of stuff, the exit polls that we talked about at the beginning of this show, if he doesn't push back on this, we're just stuck in the mud. Like, he has to keep fighting right now, and we have to help him. Like, we can't stop now because we are stuck until we gain some heavy ground at this point, I think.
Can't stop, won't stop, Rockefeller Records, baby. We get down, baby. We get down. Can't stop, won't stop.
Good.
No, I agree with that. I did want to share with any of you who have run into any tinfoil hat wearers that have things to share with you about this COVID-19, bioweapons, or anything that you're just like, I'm not sure. SciCheck, capital SCI, capital CHECT, so SciCheck, is a fact-checking, science-based claims. So it's awesome, and they have lots of, they have been debunking as they come in, with that Harvard professor who got arrested because he was starting a bioweapon. Like, they totally go through it and just are like, okay, calm down, because that's not true. And
nice.
it's really nice to be able to say, well, go check on SciCheck. And or you can just look up the story, which is what I did. But SciCheck is nice because there's been more than that. There's a lot. Oh, so many conspiracy theories about weapons, and I can't. It's a lot. It's scary. It's scary, and if the big majority of this country, let alone many others, are science illiterate, basic science. I only say that in not as looking down on anybody. That was me as well until I remedied that and learned the basics and learned how to, if I wasn't sure, go ask. And we have scientists in our communities that you can have a conversation with. All of them will take time out to talk to you. All of them. I just make sure that you don't let people think that it's something that it's not if you care about them and if you love them. You don't have to tell them they're wrong or they're stupid. Just say, well, let's go find out. That sounds crazy. Like, what? Where'd you hear that? That's awesome or scary or whatever. Let's go look it up. I'm curious. And then go to SciCheck. Right. And then use that.
Sorry, I was going to SciCheck real quick.
Yeah, I know. Not
go check. Is there like a search? Yes. How do I see if the Earth's flat? I've been wondering for a while.
It obviously is.
Oh, search.
It's got a firmament. It's got 4 corners. I mean, sheesh. Obviously.
Can't type. Sorry, guys. Flat.
What did it say? What did it
say? Cruise on the global cooling myth and Galileo. Cruise to
it's saying we've known this for thousands of years, is what it's telling you.
Trump on hairspray and ozone. Biden's position on
that's a good story.
Bin Laden raid. All right, so there's a lot on here.
Oh yes, there is a lot on there. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just learning. You will like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. This is factcheck.org. It's what I guess I'm on. This is not what I wanted to go to. It says SciCheck Archives, factcheck.org. Is that right?
Yeah. I don't know if it showed me that on my phone, but I'm sure it's all part of the same.
Okay.
That would make sense. It's just
that's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's all for the night. What do you think? Because I'm ready for bed.
I bet you are.
Christy, you have to tuck me in now.
Oh, little Mackie Poo.
Mackie Poo is pooped.
Mackie Poo is puked. You guys stay safe. Oh, I'm just knocking everything over. Stay safe.
Have fun with your social distancing. Be nice to local grocery store workers. They're doing their best.
And Starbucks and CVS.
Yes.
They're still open.
They count.
Yeah, they do count.
And,
when you order food, if you order it from Grubhub or any of the many services First World Living offers us, make sure that you tip a little bit more than you would have before, because it's gonna be, if you can, obviously, if you can't, don't hurt yourself, but if you can,
if you can't, think twice about ordering from Grubhub.
Right? Yeah, definitely. I guess, and stay connected. I know a lot of us are members of a lot of different groups on Twitter and Facebook, and it's important. It's not going to be 6 weeks. It's not going to be 8 weeks. This is going to be a while. Just everybody get ready. It's going to be how we were living just 2 weeks ago is not going. It's going to come back. Everything will be normal again, but it's not going to be for a while. So stay safe. Yeah. Stay safe. Oh, I do want to say that if you are a sewer, if you have a sewing machine, if you know how to sew, you can go, oh gosh, I'll totally brain fart. I will look up the information. You can message me if you know how to sew. they need masks. They have a pattern that it's for free. They send you the pattern, and it's like a cloth and there's some sort of a filter in the middle. It's a specific kind of, all the information's on there. Anyway, you make, they said it takes about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how fast you sew, to make each one. And then you call, it's not a lot of work, but it is some work, but you would be saving lives if you know how to sew, because New York is 2 to 3 weeks away from being completely out of a lot of things like masks and face guards, and yes, and many other places are going to be too. So these are just the masks that patients would wear that go right here and around your ears, and the complete patterns there. And then when you do is you call the hospital and they come out to get it, and they have a whole sanitize, disinfect, whatever they do to them when they have the whole process on the inside. So you don't have to clean them, you don't have to do anything. It's fine if your cat walked across them. They're going to completely disinfect them when they get them. So that's something to look into. And also our friend Beej Price, who I can't mod Atheist Republic without her, because she's just a better mod than I'll ever be. She's very informative. Very informative. I goof off a lot. And I know. Who would have ever thunk it?
You?
What?
You?
Yeah, yes. Well, it's nice a few times after the show is over when Armin's saying goodbye to everyone. He was like, and Christy, I don't reply back to you because you don't tag Atheist Republic, because I'm not talking to him. I'm talking to people in the chat. But he was like, you've had me cracking up like the whole show. I can't. Like, I'm trying to do the show and you're just being a total goofball on the side, which makes me happy, because that was the whole point. But anyway, she has not been able to show up to mod. She's had difficulties with her keyboard and a few other things, and she cannot show her identity online, period. She has to stay Beej Price. That's who she is. And so I offered up my PayPal. I had 2 PayPals. One newer one that is sitting there at 0. So I was like, hey, you could use this. So I did already send that information. And let's see, I will put it underneath this.
Awesome.
Completely underneath it when we are not live anymore, so it will be the first thing people see. And she's not, this fundraiser isn't a really big one. I know everyone's kind of this happened to her before all this. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, all this happened with her techie stuff before this really came down on us. But it still doesn't matter. We really need her in this community. We really need her. So I don't remember what the top was that she was looking for a fundraiser, but it is really not a lot. It's just to fix a couple things or get something that she can actually, participate in with us and be able to see it. And so I will put that information underneath the video, like I said. And if you have $1, if 50 cents something, you just want to put a little bit in there so we don't have to mod this community. She mods in so many channels, and not channels where we're just friends and we're all mods, those two, but she actually moderates. She pays attention, she reads, she answers anybody's questions. She's like I said, I can't mod Armin's channel without her, because we're not allowed to ban anybody in this channel. We're not allowed to time everyone. There's like complete free speech, and we're doing Hindu nationalism and stuff, so we get some bad ones sometimes. But
thanks.
We need her. We need her.
Yeah.
So